that all of the supporting documentation is in fact present and was turned in with the complaint, does it rise to the level of a hearing? Does it merit a hearing, or is it so de minimis as to not merit a hearing?
To clarify, I would like for her to once again explain what, in the workshop or TML or whatever, what it actually says for the accusations here of where it's barred.
Okay, so what you're doing, your procedure tonight is to look at what the complaint alleges. One, it's essentially, you can kind of boil it down into really two factors. One is that a council member is violating the Open Meetings Act by sending emails to all of council, and two, that same council member posted information obtained in executive session in a social media post. So that's kind of what the two allegations boil down to in a nutshell. So what your job is to look at that complaint regarding those two situations and go through your code of ethics and see, is there something in our code of ethics that says this is a violation of that ethics code, it fits within this category, so we can move forward with a hearing. If there's nothing in your code of ethics that says either violating the Open Meetings Act, but allegedly, potentially violating the Open Meetings Act, or revealing information from executive session would fit in any of those categories, then you would say, no, there's not something that we would move forward to for a hearing.
Okay, my other question is, where in Texas law does that state? I'm just trying to put it everything on the table.
Sure.
Where in Texas law does it state that this is a violation?
So the Open Meetings Act in general is 551 of the Local Government Code,
Right.
Chapter 551, that says that you can't have communications with more than a quorum of council members, and then there's provisions for a walking quorum, so you can't talk to council member A who talks to council member B who talks to council member C. So that is state law, but you're also looking at your city code of ethics to see, did we violate something under the city code? Because your goal is to look at, are we running the city in an ethical manner based on what we've established is our ethical policy as a city. So you're not just looking at state law, but you're also looking at what you have set as a city that says, these are our ethical standards. This is how we're going to hold our council members and our boards and commission members to this level. And did that person violate those standards?
Can you read that out to us?
Sure. So this is under section 2453 of your Code of Ordinances. Oh wait, I apologize. That's the penalty section. You jump to the correct one. 2454 is the standards of conduct. So that says no city officer, employee, or advisory board member or their spouses shall knowingly accept or solicit any gift or favor. We can probably skip over the A, B through C unless you all want me to read that. Grant in the discharge of his or her official duties in any improper favor, service, or thing of value to a person, group, or business entity. Just also probably not this one unless you all decide that that's different. Number 3 is disclose any confidential information gained by reason of the position of the officer, employee, or advisory board member concerning property, operations, policies, or affairs of the city, or use such confidential information to advance any personal interest, financial or otherwise, of such officer, employee, or advisory board member or others. This subsection shall not preclude disclosure of such confidential information in connection with any investigation or proceeding regarding whether there has been a violation of the standards of conduct set forth in this article. Number 4 is use one's position of office or employment or city facilities, personnel, equipment, or supplies to secure special privileges or exemptions for oneself or others, or for the private gain of the city officer, employee, or advisory board member. Number 5 is exchange in any exchange, purchase, or sale of property, goods, or service with the city. I'm just not going to read the subsections on that one unless you want me to.
No.
Number 6. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Number 6 is hold himself or herself out as representing the city in any capacity other than that for which he or she was appointed, elected, or hired. 7 is engage in or accept any private employment or render service when such employment or service is incompatible with the proper discharge of their duties. 8 is make or permit the unauthorized use of city-owned vehicles, equipment, materials, or property. 9, grant any special consideration, treatment, or advantage to any citizen beyond that which is available to every other citizen. 10, after termination of service or employment with the city. So I'm going to skip that one since they're still actively council member. 11, transact any business in his or her official capacity with the city with a business entity in which he or she has a substantial interest. 12, engage in any dishonest or criminal act or any other conduct prejudicial to the government of the city or that reflects discredit upon the government of the city. And 13 is knowingly perform or refuse to perform any act in order to deliberately thwart the execution of city ordinances, rules, or regulations or the achievement of the official city programs.
Okay, my other question is, and I think, where does it spell out, not in lawyerese, but in layman's language, where you cannot hit reply all?
That's Chapter 551 of the Local Government Code. That's the Open Meetings Act.
I can pull that up.
How long has it been since you did that meeting class?
Well, no, I'm just saying, we're accusing somebody of something,
Yes,
and I want, you know me, I want transparency. I want everything on the table.
Okay, let me, and you will see this in the information, the very first set of sections that you're gonna see in the proofing. Wayne, city attorney, on January 6th of this year, sent mayor and city council members, I want to remind you each about the limitations of the Open Meetings Act and being able to communicate with other council members about public business. And he had sent an email reply to all. Councilmember Roberts wanted to get a point across to the council. He wasn't satisfied with the council action. He wanted to come across still and express what he wanted to say on the dais, and he sent a reply to all. And you can't do that. You're conducting business outside of the dais and not an executive session that's called. You can't do that.
All right, I understand that, but I mean, legal's way over my head. So what I'm saying is, it's over some other thing. Where does it say you cannot reply all?
In the
Open
Open Meetings Act.
In state law. State
Open
law
Meetings
says
Act, the Open Meeting Act.
Where?
Chapter 551 of the Local Government Code. That whole chapter is regarding the Open Meetings Act.
I'm looking for the exact section.
So it doesn't
Please do.
it doesn't specifically say the phrase reply all, but it does say you can't communicate with a quorum of city council members outside of a public meeting.
It prohibits
So-
verbal or written exchanges between a quorum of the council about public business except at a properly posted meeting.
Right. So when you hit reply all, you necessarily include all the council members, and that creates a communication outside of the public meeting
Okay, and this was all explained in,
multiple times.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just want it out on the table. This is all explained and supposedly through TML also.
Yes.
Yes, he came in as a council member. We have a newly elected officials. We sent it, now the year that Charlie was elected was in the year that they were not allowing him because of COVID, but they had virtual meetings, and I paid for him out of his budget for him to go and watch all these, and they were listed, and you'll see that in the evidence. There was classes listed about information and media, how to work within the media that you cannot. You have to be careful. Of course, and we also passed the social media policy, and we also passed an ethics in the charter, and it warned against behavior.
I understand all that. I just want,
So even on the Parks Board, when you get an
Right.
email,
Right.
you're not supposed to reply all.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to put it all out here on the table.
So
if he-
and you're
and
not
I'll
trying
shut
to
up.
determine if it's guilt or innocence at this point. You're just looking as the complaint was filed, does it say enough that we should look further to determine and have them come in and present their evidence, both sides. So you're just looking at it as, did it fit one of those 13 categories? Did it say enough to fall into one of those that we want to keep moving forward with this?
Yeah, I might add on that, Alicia. I served on the grand jury in Tarrant County, and we never did determine
guilt or innocence. We just determined on whether to indict. And so this body is actually acting as a grand jury
Absolutely.
in that respect.
Right.
So we're not making any accusation at all in this place. We are saying that we believe the evidence rises to the point where it needs to be brought before us and evaluated on whether there is guilt or innocence.
And you could be looking at it without
Yeah,
their name
yeah.
as well. Like you could
Did I say it?
On the federal grand jury for 18 months.
There you go. So I thought I thought that would resonate with you.
Well, if you
Yeah,
remember,
I
we
knew
talked-
that.
in the training we talked about the essentially this is a probable cause hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the function here is there probable cause to move forward with an investigation, or is there not?
I just wanted it on the table
Right.
if there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So-
Alicia, these PowerPoint I kept from our PowerPoint really has helped me go back and reread it because it very specifically says knowingly disclose confidential information acquired by reason of their position
Yes.
or use confidential information to advance a personal interest as a code violation.
Right. Dan, I would like to, just say that I think that there's two things going in operation here that we need to evaluate if we get to that point, if everyone chooses to go there. But I would say that I'd be willing to move this forward onto the next phase.
Okay. So
You want to make that the
you
formal
make it a
motion?
Make it a
like-
motion.
Sure, Dan, I'll
that
make it a
formal.
motion that we go ahead and have a formal hearing for this complaint. I believe it rises to the level where we need to investigate it.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and again, I'll let everybody know that all these documents will be sent to you. They'll also be sent to the complainant, who supplied them, but they'll also be sent to Mr. Roberts, Councilmember Roberts.
Okay, and he has
20
days.
to.
Yeah.
And now, the next thing we'll have to do
Set a meeting?
is to set a future date for a hearing. Now, that's what's going to be with Don on the City Hall Bond Committee. We got Thursdays taken care of, but I can look at let me see, let me go take a picture of my city calendar that
That
shows.
just has to be within 60 days of when it was filed, the hearing.
Yeah, 60 days,
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
true,
but
sorry.
we wanna
20
set-
days was this hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So you got
sorry.
a little-
We'll wait.
5 days to send it to
We
us,
went ahead
20
and
days
we
for us
went
to
ahead
hold
and
this
move forward,
meeting.
and so, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right, with 60 days, he's got 2 months within
I
this.
was just gonna let you breathe a little bit more, Art. I just wanted to make sure you were breathing.
Will you mail those
I'll
to
be
us or are
going-
you gonna
Yeah.
email those?
I'll email them to you, would you
Yeah.
rather prefer a mail?
I prefer mail because
Well,
that's a lot
I'll
of
have
printing.
it ready for you to come by and pick up.
That'll be fine. I
Ready
will
for you.
perfectly do that.
And, well, while you're here, if you want to give me 30 minutes, it'll take me about 30 minutes to print these all. I can print them all and give it to you as a packet. I'll just print these right off, my assistant's here, and I can print them off and get each one of you a packet that you'll have if you want to wait for. So we really, within the 60-day thing, we're in March, April, May, we're looking at May, and it'd be the middle of May. I mean, now, okay, it's within the 60-day, but the first date, I mean, it could be any time during the month of March or anytime.
Yeah,
up to
anytime
the-
within 60 days.
Yeah, within 60 days. So let me do one thing. I'm gonna go I've got my city calendar on the wall that has what nights are council meetings and what nights are your board meetings, parks and whatever, so that maybe we won't have a conflict. Give me.
Before you walk out,
Yes, sir.
so under section 2-162D, y'all are empowered to call for an investigation. Do y'all, I mean, outside the hearing, meaning if y'all wanted an investigation to gather facts prior to the hearing on y'all's behalf, for y'all to use, if y'all don't believe that there is a sufficient body of evidence present with which to, from the side of the complainant, y'all can call for an investigation. Do y'all feel like there's not a sufficient body of investigation of information that y'all need some sort of investigation conducted
Well,
between now and
let me
then?
ask this question, Dan. Once we look at all the evidence, all the emails, because none of us have had a chance to look at the emails yet,
Right.
and if we make that determination, how would we call for an investigation meeting among ourselves?
We would have to have a meeting. Y'all would have to, as a body, call for an investigation.
Who
Select-
would we call if we needed to do that?
just get a hold of Art and say we.
Okay, not you, but Art?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the next meeting
Yes.
will be with the complainant, correct?
The hearing will be, yes.
The hearing.
But
Yes.
we
But
talk-
so how are we going to know how we're going to approach this whole thing if we don't have a meeting prior to that.
Oh, good thought, Suzanne.
That's a good idea.
So,
But
okay,
I,
so,
I think for me, as far as the information that's being provided, as far as
What day is your
determining
appointment?
if there's enough information would be the dates and information, if he had the information prior of knowledge of the Open Meetings Act, and then the situation of it being broken.
Right.
I don't know what other information.
So the allegation, the actual allegation as submitted says that he was informed of, I mean, in fact, and there's a copy of an email from the city attorney that says, hey, stop doing this, you're violating the Open Meetings Act.
So the only thing I feel like I would need is the date that he took the Open Meetings Act.
The class.
Yes, because
Right.
we received a certificate of that for that as well. So as long as he has that, and we have information
That's a
of
great point.
the email in which it was, explained.
Reiterated.
And then we have that being breached, I
Certainly on that, the second allegation is the release of information from executive session.
Right.
And I think that's already fairly well documented. Personally, I don't think that there is any need for any further investigation other than the facts that are present, but I
Yeah.
want y'all to know y'all have that option to direct an investigation prior to.
I agree with what you're saying, but I want to know how we're going to, when he's sitting there, how we're going to approach it. That
So-
you're going to do
Yes,
this.
so the charter says that either I or some other party as designated by the city will present on the city's behalf. And then, or essentially on the commission's behalf. It'll be an adversarial hearing, as you would expect. He may or may not be, represented by counsel and so you'll have basically, just like a trial. You'll have one, present evidence. These are the facts from this side. They'll present evidence from their side. There'll be an opportunity for cross-examining any
This
witnesses.
is an open meeting.
It's an open meeting. It'll work very much like a trial.
It's kind of a little bit more formal than a ZBA case and a little less formal than a civil service case.
Okay.
I would agree with that. That's perfect.
No, Lisa, we won't meet
Well,
again.
I was just because we were talking about if we needed it more investigation.
So
Yeah,
Suzanne,
if y'all were to review your information once it's all sent to you by the city secretary and determine that
You
you
needed
thought
more.
you needed an investigation,
Then
there
we
was
could meet.
some information that wasn't clear that you wanted to be clarified prior to. I believe y'all could, reach out to Art. Say I believe any one of you could reach out to Art and say, hey, I think there's some things we need to drill down on. We could then call a meeting and y'all could, as a body, direct that there be an investigation to gather some additional facts that you don't believe.
So we could meet to.
You certainly
review.
can.
After-
Yes.
Yeah, we could, yes. We're not necessarily going to.
I wouldn't do it as a meet to review the evidence and discuss the evidence
No,
as a
no,
group.
no.
Because that's the
Right.
point of the hearing,
Right.
but it could be we need this
More.
additional.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you could do that.
It would be a meeting for the purpose of, because y'all can't act independently, y'all can only act as a body.
Right.
And so y'all would need to vote as a body to call for an investigation.
Right.
But I don't, I
That's
don't
what we're
see.
doing tonight, right? I mean, if we
Well, no,
choose-
you're calling for a hearing here. If you wanted to call for an investigation prior to the hearing,
That's
that would be
another
separate. I mean, it's a question of whether you wanted to expend resources on an investigation.
So it really wouldn't
But you
be
really don't know
appropriate.
that until you know if you
right,
see holes.
it wouldn't be appropriate to call a meeting just for us to discuss among ourselves how we were
No.
going to
No.
do
No,
this.
you do not do
Right.
that.
That's
Okay.
a due process issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
due process, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So far as dates, today is the 15th.
Yes.
Okay, of course, we want to give them at least ample time, to be fair. So I wouldn't suggest anything going on till the next month of April.
Right.
And going into April, the days open, we have April the 6th. April the 7th, do you think we'll be through with that committee, bond committee, getting that?
Oh, I can.
Okay, well, let's not-
Now, April the 12th is absolutely out for me.
Yeah, 12's out. Okay, then you have, I don't know, we're gonna be through we have the, April the 4th's kind of early, but that's, April 18th is a Monday night, normal city, it's between the two city council meetings, April 18th. The 21st.
Does it have to be in the evening?
It'll have to be 5 o'clock, I'm sure. to give Charlie, he works, so he would have to
5
be.
o'clock would probably be early for him. I don't know what time he gets
Well,
off.
he's been here before at times when he had to
Okay,
take off
okay.
an hour to be here.
But he has a right to delay it
Up to 120 days.
up to 120
Yes,
days.
yes,
Okay.
he can. Okay.
I won't be available for the next 8 weeks from 4 PM to 1 AM.
Okay. Well, I mean, you still have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You still have 5. And then April Knight had an emergency. She couldn't be here, so you still have potential 5 people if you're not able to.
Okay.
Okay, but really,
Are the weekends out?
yes, I would think so.
Not for me, but
It's for me.
I'm retired.
He's up to here.
I've got enough. I've got 3 meetings this week. This is number
I know.
2. I got one more Thursday. Going into May, of course, we have the election day, May 7th. And then you're going to have, we're going to probably do the, looking at doing the canvassing. Probably have to call a special meeting for that. I don't know about that. But anyway, the 19th of May looks good. 19th is a Thursday.
What's the matter with April the 6th?
April the
We're gonna
6th.
start this
It's a Wednesday
delay.
night. It's a Wednesday night. It's a
It's
Wednesday
good for
night.
me.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Wednesday night. It's a Wednesday night. And then, and like I said, but then you could go from there. I mean, that's the first hearing. You might. This thing may
Right,
settle
right.
up just real quick. I mean, he just may. There could be a saying, how it's brought in. So we could have. You want to set it for April the 6th? It's about 3
It
and a half.
works for me.
Okay.
It works
Is that
for me
you-
too.
At least you think that's too early.
And it's more than 20 days, I think you're
I
okay.
think it's fine.
Okay. We could just have.
And he can always request an extension if that's not sufficient.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Got it.
5 o'clock?
I will mention this, my deputy alerted me, and I don't know how this has happened, since he was elected in November of 20, and I know that we sent, my understanding, Donna sent, she was still here, sent the notice that he as an elected official has 90 days to do the Attorney General's Open Meetings Act. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but when my deputy was trying to find the certificate for it, we can't find it, whether he ever completed that. So I can check with the Texas Attorney General to see, did he ever take the 90-day, you have 90 days to take it, well, you all know that, you have 90 days, did he ever complete that? And that was, I'm going to check on that.
Okay.
But he may haven't got it to Donna, and Donna logged it somewhere or something, but we, wouldn't be.
But there's still other things that.
Yes.
And there are some other factual allegations that additional trainings were given outside of that.
Yeah,
certificate.
and that's one of the reasons why, you remember when they instituted that, they said that was the reason why, it was because cities were getting sued because their people were violating the Open Act, so now the Attorney General, they passed the law, says, you're individually responsible.
Right.
And,
And they were successfully being
yeah,
sued too.
so that way, you have 90 days to complete it. So, and most people do it when they're on board, so, anyway, okay.
April 6th at 5 o'clock.
April 6th at 5 o'clock.
April 6th, 5 o'clock.
Got it.
I will send this out. And she's making copies for everybody.
Art, you weren't in the room, but so I told them that if they review the evidence that's provided to them and they determine that they need additional investigation, they have the power to call for additional investigation, but they have to do it as a body. So I told them we could call a meeting just for that purpose. If one of them decides, if they look at the stuff and they go, "Ooh, I think we need we need to drill down on these points," get a hold of you.
Right.
You will call a meeting. They can, as a body, determine that whether or not they want to expend the resources for an additional investigation, and then
Sounds good. Dan.
The person that made the complaint will be here also during the hearing, correct?
Possibly.
What I'm thinking is accusations are.
they said they don't have any. I don't
Printed out
believe there's
back
anywhere
there
in the ordinance that requires them to be here. Once they've made the
but she-
allegation, it becomes incumbent upon me or the city manager's
We're
designee
gonna make the
to
correction.
present the
It's-
case. Basically,
I read a lot today, but I was thinking I
Right.
read that.
I'll take I or whoever presents the case, which that's the city manager's decision. But whoever presents the case will take the information that's been provided, and I'll also be reviewing it. And if I see holes in it, I will also get a hold of Art and say, hey, I think we ought to drill down in these areas. But whoever is compiling this case will, that's who's presenting it. If the complainant need not be here per the ordinance, I would expect they will be, but
Yes.
they need not be. Only the respondent will have to be here.
I'm sure the accused will be here with legal representation.
I would expect so. And if I were I'm not a lawyer. If I were advising the city manager, I would advise that he have counsel present the case simply because I'm not a lawyer. And I don't know about you, but I don't go to a gunfight without a gun, and I don't go to a legal fight without a lawyer.
Can
But that's just me.
y'all represent? Because I think I read something where you cannot.
So there's an issue with this one because it is 2 council members, and it kind of creates a conflict of interest for the firm because we work for council. So there's been some discussion between Wayne and I whether we're going to recommend
An outside.
outside
counsel.
counsel.
I think that would probably be
If I
good.
remember right, that was decided that it would be an outside counsel.
Yeah.
I thought so
That,
as
I
well.
think I think we put in the ordinance that we could bring in, or I don't know if it was mandated that we bring in outside
But we
counsel.
can.
because
We
for-
can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we
for
can.
example, like if it was a board or commission member, then it wouldn't be the same type of an issue if the firm that works as city attorney for council.
This is
presented
definitely
the
going
case.
to be a trial.
Yes.
Yes, I would expect this to
This is
be.
a trial of haves and have-nots.
This is also there are some criminal penalties for violations of the Open Meetings Act, so I would hope
Which
when that's an allegation that's raised.
Which you
in there.
should be aware, the ordinance says that y'all, if there are potential criminal violations, can table the matter until such time as those criminal investigations, assuming there were criminal investigations going on.
Right.
I know of no criminal investigations, but if this were being investigated criminally, then it would be, y'all could table the matter until such time as as those investigations played
Well, I
out.
think everybody will agree, though, this is going to set the table forever.
Yeah.
Yes, and
This
it
first
should be.
one.
It's a precedent-setting case.
Well, and here's what I would offer y'all with respect to tabling the matter or pushing it off in any way. The damage is ongoing. This is if I were
Damage is what?
yeah.
Ongoing.
As, when I was a cop, I looked at it as okay. So I've got a abusive allegation against a child, for instance. Well, if it happened 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and it's okay, that's not the same level of priority as ongoing abuse. I've got to deal with that right now, and so be mindful of that in your determinations as to how much delay you put into things.
That's the only thing that I think everybody will want to have. This sets the table from now on.
Alicia, if we as individuals see things on social media regarding this, what does that mean?
I don't think you have to recuse yourself by any means, but if it's not presented to you, so what you're going to be considering when you have your hearing is only what's presented to you at the hearing.
In that, okay.
So it might be that there's been additional information gathered outside of that's brought in as in addition to what's in the complaint. Here are some other things that we've found, because that's certainly what the investigation process, if that happens, calls for. But just like in a trial, if you were a jury, you're only considering what's in front of you.
Okay. I just know that he likes social media a lot.
Well, I've been approached 4 times. I mean, this is on the street. I just tell them, I can't say nothing. So I don't. That's hard for me.
But it's hard to know that you yourself saw that yourself and not say something, like especially when we're in this scenario. Like, well, he blatantly, I mean, he just went out and blasted us all because we filed ethics against him. We didn't, somebody else did, but we're just.
Although it would
I've
force
seen nothing.
you would be required to recuse yourself from the ongoing proceedings. If you saw something, you absolutely, as a citizen, have the power to make an ethics complaint yourself.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah. In that situation, if you are the complainant, it would be in your best interest to not sit on
Yes.
the panel at that point.
Yes.
Well,
But I just meant from tonight
Yeah.
forward.
I think what you're seeing too is, and then, well, we had this when we were doing the social media policy. The average citizen doesn't recognize a violation.
Yes, I agree.
So that's where the kick comes in. Oh, that was, they can't do that? No, you can't do that. You know, you just can't. Why can't y'all do, no, you can't. Because that's when some people get elected and all of a sudden they're told, you have to, aside from that dice, you really can't do anything. I mean, you can go ahead and executive session, discuss what you want, and you can go out there and vote and whatever, and you can say what you want out there. But when you go into, when it's done, and that's where it needs to end. And it's numerous,
Yep.
At the hearing, the council will be there too?
I
No,
would guess not.
No.
No.
Quorum issues.
no, they're not.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
This
Not
will be a
till
hearing
we,
of this, y'all will make a recommendation to the council, and you have 4 levels of recommendation that you can make to the council, and the council will then decide. Y'all are merely an advisory body to the council.
Just to clarify on that though, because I had a conversation about this, because it is a council member that you're making a recommendation for, you only have 3. Because you can't recommend removal of office for a
That's
council
true.
member.
That's
So
true.
you only have the 3.
That's true.
that's another charter amendment thing we may have to look at, because it does say removal from office. Well, who holds an office but an elected official? But then again, you're
But
counteracting,
Your
you're
board members
contradicting
and
your
commission
charter
members.
by saying only by means of recall can a person be taken out of office.
Correct.
Right.
We'll chat about that, because I think you're fine. But
That's something we
it's
can
not
look at
on the
next time.
agenda, so.
right.
That's another
Just doesn't
2
apply
years.
here. Removal from office doesn't apply here.
Correct.
It would apply for a board or commission member.
Yeah, board of commission, fine, but, when you say from an office, and then
Right.
off of, it says employment, which means
Right.
that's what Rex does. If we had
Right.
an employee, I would hear that, if this was an employee doing something, that was, we would handle the same way. It can be brought into the same manner through a social media.
Then you got the
policy.
4 options.
Yeah, you need to have 4 options.
This is
yes.
not the subject, but I just still worry about a lot of our boards and commission people. They don't really realize all this stuff.
It's
I know it's there, but they don't.
And you may find,
Pay attention.
as far as drilling down on this a little bit, you may find that if Rex decides to retain counsel to present this, council may, as far as what you're talking about, the things that you're seeing on social media, said council may decide that they want to investigate. They want to gather some information themselves.
That's
and,
true.
And if so, then that's a separate issue.
Okay.
Let me go see where she's at. Okay, Gibbs, who has to go in first?
Well, we've conducted all of our business, I think. She's just getting copies. Do y'all want to go ahead and adjourn?
Adjourn.
Well, everything that was submitted to us, it was pretty well cut and dried.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yes, it was very cut and dry.
All right, well, if you adjourn, then you can't talk
Move
about
to
it
adjourn.
anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Yeah, we need to get her off the payroll.
At the
Can't talk about it anymore.
at the minute you adjourn, you're potentially violating the Open Meetings Act yourself.
There you go.
So the conversation really does have to stop when we
I
adjourn.
don't
Yeah.
know, if Art brings back something, do y'all want to adjourn?
Well, if someone's got something else to say.
So you can't go through and start discussing all the stuff that's in the packet tonight, because that's not part of what you
Right.
posted.
Correct.
So,
Well,
So
the
even if
motion's
you-
in order.
so if you even when he hands it to you, you can't start
Yeah,
go through and
correct.
start discussing the
Yeah.
merits of
Okay,
everything.
make a motion to adjourn and keep your mouth shut.
And go buy some tape.
There you go.
Second.
All right. We are
We
adjourned.
can talk about how my water is spraying.
Yes, now it's meeting's
Yeah,
closed.
we heard about that.
Did they get them?
No, oh,
I'm so sorry.
I know, it's crazy. I was at the laundromat on Denton Highway because, look, I waited to the last minute and let, like, all of our clothes pile up. So I'm like, I'm gonna wash my wallet one time, I'm going to the laundromat. Drop my wallet outside my purse, outside the door.
Oh,
So,
no.
but I had been in Ham Tire all morning, so I didn't know where it happened at, but I had seen the charge, like, within a half hour.
Wow.
Let me tell you how crazy it is about jurisdiction, right? So my wallet was stolen in Watauga. They used my credit card in Fort Worth.
Thank you. ma'am.
Thank you.
Used my bank debit card in Haltom City.
Oh,
So
my
now
God.
I
You have to
had
file reports.
In both places?
Three places.
3, Watauga too, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, what, really?
Oh, no.
And it was just horrible. But yeah, I physically seen her pick it up, put it in, and she left literally from there and started using my debit and credit card. Because I didn't have any money because I got broke. The office was like,
You'll be
"You
like,
have any
have
money
fun
in
with that.
there?" Yeah, he was like, I said, hey, I had $6.
They good like with that one.
I had $6. So, yeah, so she used all my credit card, debit cards. Yeah. I was like,
You got them all canceled and
Yeah.
everything, so that's,
yeah.
that's a pain.
That was the biggest blessing of it all, is that I realized it was missing. Then once I started looking, I just so happened looked on my credit card, and like it had been used. I'm like, it's stolen. So yep. So it was within an hour, but she used it like
That's
3
good.
times within an hour.
I get upset when you use your card and they don't ask for your PIN. They just
Yeah.
like Walmart used to be real bad about it. If it's under 50 or 25,
Right.
it just goes right through, and you went, wait a minute,
Well,
I
yeah.
didn't sign for it. I didn't use my PIN.
And then he had told me, well, because it wasn't over $100, pretty much, they'd get a citation in the mail. I said, no, I'm gonna press charges.
Yes.
This is my.
Yeah.
My life.
Yeah, I did.
QT is also like that. You don't have to do that. They just scan your card and there you go.
Yeah, she used it outside at the Quick Trip. I was just like, and the gas was $55. I'm like, it's over $100 now.
Wow.
But that was crazy.
Well, and a lot of agencies will try to give you the runaround about identity theft, those type of offenses. But if you read the statute, the agency where you live has original jurisdiction the same as the agency, like where you
Where it
lost your
happened.
wallet or whatever. And they're not allowed to try and dodge the call.
Yeah.
It still happens. We fought that battle all the
But
time.
then I was just like,
Lazy cop.
when I
Yeah.
filed the complaint in Watauga, I was like, well, they just used it at Taco Cabana in the drive-through. So I was like, there you can get a plate number at least. He was like, I can't go there because it's Fort Worth. I'm like, you said I'm street. It's at the corner. But I was like, oh wow.
Oh yeah, well we're getting all this information.
Yeah.
Secretary Lisa Mays here. Member Don Lemaster.
Here.
Member Carl Anthony.
Here.
Non-voting alternate member April Knight.
Here.
Non-voting alternate member Tandra Betts. Absent. Ethics Commission Director Dan Dennis.
Present.
Ethics Commission Attorney Michael Guevara.
Present.
Everyone has received a copy of the minutes from March 15th. I entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second,
Second.
all approved. Raise your hand. We will now go into executive session, section 551.071 at 6:02, and we'll be back as soon as we can.
Just for the record,
Oh, sorry.
071 is consultation with attorney. I just want to make sure
Well,
that
Mr.
that's clear on the record.
Okay. Consultation this night.
You gonna bring these in?
Yes.
Test. Okay. You're back on.
Okay, we've returned at 6:35. We will resume the meeting. Okay.
So, my name is Van Dennis. I'm the Civil Service Director for the City of Forest. For the City of Haltom City. I was a long time before still. I also I serve an advisory and administrative role to the Ethics Commission under the ordinance, so everybody knows who I am. And our next agenda item is hearing of ethics complaint 2022-03-10. Conduct a hearing on ethics complaint 2022-03-10 filed by Mayor Pro Tem Linda Thompson against Councilmember Charlie Roberts. And we'll need to start time for that.
Start time will be 6:36.
And hearing is open.
Yes. Public hearing is open now.
Sure.
Yes, sir, Michael Guerrero.
All right, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read some of the laws that we have in place that are pertinent here that are going to direct the discussion that we're going to have under the hearing portion only. The deliberation is going to be a second item we'll get into later, so this is just for the public hearing portion. The city charter sets out in section 10.02A that the city council by ordinance shall adopt and maintain, enforce an ethics policy entitled the Municipal Code of Ethics, and then that's under A, and then under B, it says the council shall enforce the ethics policy as applies to the city council board and commission members and city council appointed officers. Section 2.458 of our Code of Ordinances, which is entitled Ethics Commission Procedure, specifically section E4, says the commission may consider only the evidence submitted at the hearing. The accused is entitled to present evidence and call and cross-examine witnesses. So, commissioners, the only thing that you're allowed to consider is what is presented here today during this hearing. Alternate members, since we have an alternate member here, may ask questions during the meeting, but are not voting members unless designated as such by the chairperson at the beginning of the meeting. That was not done. So, Commissioner Knight, alternate, can ask questions, but cannot vote in the proceeding. Section 2-454A, that's the standard of conduct. The two that I believe are relevant in this case, and this is not a finding, I want y'all to be aware of that. This is just setting the parameters of what the discussion could be, because this is a meeting, we are subject to the Texas Open Meeting Act, and so we're only allowed to discuss the items that are on the agenda. The agenda items are specifically drafted so that the general public can be apprised of what will be discussed. So we have to narrowly be focused on the complaint and what's in the complaint. So 454A says no city officer, employee, or advisory board member or their spouses shall knowingly, and then number 3, disclose any confidential information gained by reason of the position of the officer, employee, or advisory board member concerning the property, operations, policies, and affairs of the city. Number 12, engage in any dishonest or criminal act or any other conduct prejudicial to the government of the city or that reflects discredit upon the government of the city. Since in this situation we are talking about the Texas Open Meeting Act, I'm going to read some of the sections from the Texas Open Meeting Act, which is in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, specifically Section 551.001, definitions. Deliberation means a verbal or written exchange between a quorum of the governmental body or between a quorum of the governmental body and other person concerning an issue within the jurisdiction of the governmental body. 4, a meeting means a deliberation between a quorum of the governmental body or between a quorum of the governmental body and another person, during which the public business or public policy over which the governmental body has supervision or control is discussed or considered, or during which the governmental body takes action. Section 551.002, Open Meetings Act requirement. Every regular, special, or called meeting of a governmental body shall be open to the public except as provided in this chapter. And that obviously means Chapter 551 of the Government Code. Procedurally, as we move forward, Mr. Dennis, as the Civil Service Director, per the ordinance, will read the complaint and then submit the complaint with any attachments into evidence. That will be all that we will take with regard to the complaint. After that is completed, then Councilman Roberts will have an opportunity to provide any evidence to refute the allegations of the complaint by documentation or testimony. Madam Chairman.
Dennis.
So, there we go. That might help. Okay, so the complaint starts with a statement of facts. So I'm just going to read it verbatim into the record, and then I'll deal with the attachments after that. So, most importantly, this information does not and is not meant or should not be taken as a personal attack towards Mr. Roberts, current council member. As far as I'm concerned, he seems to be a nice, pleasant person. My concern and main object is to understand why, after many attempts by staff and legal counsel, warnings were given to stop and not reply all, that Mr. Roberts continues to break Open Meetings Act. This is evident through email responses to everyone on the council, therefore making it a public meeting without the access of the public being present. The major concern is that new and seasoned council members see this happening thinking it is okay. In other words, Mr. Roberts sets the example. Anyone might reply all accidentally. The documentation in this case shows multiple times. This is left for the Ethics Commission to determine if any or violations of any policies such as ethics, social media, executive session rules, etc. the city has. And then documentation of training and meeting minutes. One, after Mr. Roberts took office in November 2020, he was given the 2020 TML newly elected officials virtual workshop. This is training to include various laws and acts that can impact your service as an elected official. The email regarding the TML training is dated November 24th, 2020, stating various topics covered in 4 sections. 2, Wayne Olson, city attorney from Taylor Olson, wrote an email dated January 6, 2022, reminding council of Open Meetings Act. 3, Haltom City Council video conference meeting dated January 25th, 2021. During the work session, Andrew Russell, city attorney from Taylor Olson, presented the Open Government Training to Council covering Public Information Act with specific rules and guidelines regarding elected officials and city staff. During executive session of the same meeting, consultation with city attorney regarding Open Meetings Act, Code of Ethics, and conflicts of interest, along with other items, were discussed. Number 4, April 26, 2021, minutes of Haltom City Council meeting indicates a training by city attorney on social media policy and ethics policy. Number 8 in the minutes is the censure policy. A discussion was held with the city manager presenting an agenda item, and city attorney addressed the censure issue in conjunction with the current Code of Ethics and Ethics Commission. The discussion continued current ethics policy procedures, censure rules, and resolution of disapproval. Resolution number R-2021-018-01, a resolution of the City Council of Haltom City adopting policies for the maintenance of order and decorum at city council meetings, adopting a code of conduct for the city officials and employees, adopting rules of censure applicable to city council members, and providing an effective date as of June 14th, 2021. The attachments, that policy is part of this attachment, is attachment to this document. Resolution number 2020-012-01, resolution approving the City of Haltom City social media policy and guidelines for elected officials and appointed board, commission, and committee members. Responsibilities with best practices when using social media. This was passed and approved on June 22nd, 2020. Ordinance number ordinance number O-2020-010-01, ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Haltom City, providing for the creation of an Ethics Commission, amending the Code of Ethics by providing procedures for the Ethics Commission effective May 11th, 2020, and attachment sworn complaint before the City of Haltom City. Emails beginning with most current, with response from Councilman Roberts to all council members. Date 2/2/2022, social media concern email originally from Rex Phelps, in which Roberts responded same date. Date 1/4/2022, Roberts sent email regarding bond proposal. Date 5/5/2021, Roberts sent email regarding his thoughts and discussion from the workshop and presentation I wanted to give, which is attached. Date 4/14/2021, email from Rex Phelps, follow-up time 3/11. Roberts' response 3/39 email shows Roberts had several questions, and number 3 was regarding censure. That asking about special rules or procedures. At 5/24, Phelps responds that he copied the city attorney for his comments on question number 3, censure. 5/48, Roberts responds with thanks of thorough explanation. date April 6, 2021 at 1 p.m. Email from the council and some city staff members regarding clarification recap law enforcement center. A council person placed information on social media that pointed out the significant increase of law enforcement center project. Response from Roberts at 1:39 stating only facts were republished. Date February 26, 2021, from Phelps to council, Wayne Olson, Sedana Faust, Cody Phillips, regarding social media post dated 2/24/21 by Roberts. This post points agenda item number 12. The issue problem is the description in the post of item number 12. It is unlawful, a Class A misdemeanor, for bond committee to campaign for the bond approval. The bond committee, and is underlined, has not broken the law, nor was it formed to break the law. Note, please do not reply all to email. Response from Roberts at 4:37, in which he replied to all. The social media post is attached. Date 11/24/2020, Phelps to council and Faust. Subject is information. Phelps wanted to make clarification regarding the previous night's meeting. Response from Roberts at 12:40 to all. Thanks for answering questions. Roberts responds all again at 12:43, questioning the location of the fire station. Response from Phelps at 1:21 to council and Faust explains when sending an email to council member as a group, members are not allowed to reply all due to the presence of a quorum. Examples of numerous emails to council that indicate do not reply all. Date 6/22/21, email from Phelps to council, Trent Petty, Faust Olson, regarding revitalization workshop on July 19th, emphasizes do not reply all. Date 5/5/2021, email from Phelps to council, Camacho, Faust, regarding budget workshop, emphasizes do not reply all. Date 4/27/2021, email from Phelps to council, Olson, Faust, Camacho, regarding suggestion of council workshop May 3rd, 2021. Note, email back and do not reply all. Date 4/22/2021, Phelps email to council regarding Hometown Heroes 2021 with email from Angie Akmajani, Northeast Tarrant Chamber. Note, do not reply all. Date 4/15/2021, Phelps responding to email submission from Erickson Palazzo, points out that council cannot respond due to the presence of a quorum under the Open Meetings Act. Date 5/1/2021, Phelps responding to email submission from Catherine Abbott, points out that council cannot respond due to the presence of a quorum, Open Meetings Act. Additional emails are provided with documentation to show a constant reminder not to reply all. Examples of a one-time event by another council member, plus more evidence of Open Meetings Act information and training. Date 3/4/2021, Phelps responds to council regarding email originally from Greg Bersani about street fights. Councilman Smith replied comments to Rex, but responded all. Note, email response back to the council to make sure you reply only to me. Date 2/26/21, Phelps emails council regarding social media post. Council Roberts responds all. Phelps responds reminding council not to reply to the message. We do not want to engage in anything where you enter into a discussion. Date 11/30/2020, Phelps emails council explaining attendance at employee appreciation breakfast. He emphasizes to make sure not to discuss city business. Date 10/26/2020, Roberts submitted questions prior to election for council. Phelps responded indicating the council cannot respond when addressed as a group due to a quorum under the Texas Open Meetings Act. Date 12/14/2020, Councilwoman Van Zandt emailed Olson and Phelps regarding updates on lawsuits. Olson responded if council had gone to executive session, he would have mentioned the two lawsuits. Olson stated that the next council meeting There were plans to spend time going over Open Meetings Act issues. Phelps responded to Councilman Roberts and Smith that those items would be covered in the next council meeting. He also stated about making arrangements for Open Meetings Act training. Olson responded, they are required to take an open government training within 90 days of election, also online through TML or other organizations. At 4:51 on January 15, 2021, Olson emailed Phelps stating Andrea Russell would be attending council meeting in his absence on January 25th. She would be prepared to continue the open government training with discussion of the Public Information Act. Social media posts violates Open Meetings Act, rules of quorum, executive session rules, ethics, and disrespecting and eroding public trust between the community, fellow council members, city attorney, and city staff. Dated 3/9/2022, Roberts' post includes executive session information that violates executive session rules. It takes away much trust that our community as elected officials has entrusted council to honor. And that is signed with personal affidavit. I, Lynn Thompson, complainant, swear that I have knowledge of the facts alleged in this complaint and the information contained in this complaint is true and correct. And that is submitted to the City Secretary. So this is the complaint I'm submitting for record, Madam Chair. And then these are the supporting documents. Each member of the commission has received these, and I'm submitting each of these exhibits, exhibits A through E, as the supporting document for the complaint.
Mr. Dennis, just one clarification, and I may have missed it because I was just finishing reading, but did you read the nature of the alleged violation
You know
at the
what?
very beginning?
Did I not?
Because that's actually the complaint, and so we...
Did I miss that? You are correct. You are correct. I did not.
No, he
read that
did,
part.
no.
As a council member, we take our oath of office to uphold the state and national laws as it applies to our position as an elected official. In the state of Texas, there are specific laws regarding the Open Meetings Act. Based on state law and our city charter, a quorum consists of 5 people, whether in person or not. Major concern would be that council members, new and incumbent, would become lax. They could begin to continue the habits of reply all to emails from staff or anyone that would send an email to everyone on the council. This is very serious and should not be taken lightly. Thank you.
Right, and so that's the complaint, and so that's subject to Public Information Act request. Everything moving forward from this wouldn't necessarily be unless you want it to be. So you have the right at this point under the Texas Open Meetings Act 551074 to determine whether you want this to go forward in open session or closed session. So what is your choice?
Open.
Okay, very good. So we can proceed. Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes, ma'am.
you can speak if you like.
Thank you. Commission, thank y'all for being here. I'm sorry you're here, but thank you for being here.
It's got to be recorded.
This way?
Yes, sir.
I feel like I'm turning my back on people. All right, so exactly per our charter, you listed 2 things that I'm actually being charged with, I guess. One is disclosure of confidential information. What confidential information was discussed? And I guess from my perception, there's 3 things that we're supposed to discuss in executive session. Personnel matters, property, investment matters, buying personal property, and what is the other one? No, it's lawsuit, legal stuff. There you go. Did I disclose any of those 3 things in any of those documents that you have?
On your social media post, on January 3rd, you discussed what was discussed in executive session. That's confidential.
Does it list any type of property, any place, any money, anything like that? And if you want background on why that was done, our mayor stopped that meeting suddenly before we got finished, before I was finished in executive. I understand it doesn't matter, but I want you to have background. Before I got to finish what I had to say in executive session, the rest of what you read there was said right here in this dais, in the meeting right before executive session. There was nothing new in that email.
But it was new to everyone on social media that might not have been at the meeting, that is not privileged to executive session. On Facebook, you said, council, following the January 3rd, 2022 City Council meeting, the council went to executive session. At this time, we were shown a presentation that included 3 possible sites to erect a new city hall with 3 different costs. This was after the public meeting where a bond proposal amount of $25 million was first publicized. And the background for this email I sent to council and staff on January 4th. Again, an email you sent to all. According to this sum, I broke forum guidelines with this email. To me, working for our community with transparency is one of the most important attributes a representative should possess.
Correct. What date was that sent off to social media?
March
3/9, March 9th, 20.
March 9th, correct. What day was the email sent to staff and council?
January 4th.
Okay. That's 2 months in between time. In between time, social media, Councilwoman Tiffany Chandler's husband posted about that email. That email was it won't call it formal, whatever, but it's in the public at this point. It is my point, that it's already being discussed among the citizens of our city because somebody takes the email and puts it out for public.
Well, you may see that as...
I'm just telling you why. I'm not denying what I did. I did that. I'm just telling you why it was done. Y'all are the Ethics Commission. And what I'm trying to show you is there's a lot of ethics problems that comes out of this city hall that needs to be addressed. I'm not denying my part of it, but just be aware that there's other people involved in this ethics stuff. And so if you view that I disclosed property purchase intent, legal goings on, lawsuits or whatever, or personnel matters, those are things that are to be discussed in executive session. Everything else is expected to be out here in the dais in the public. Is that true or not true?
Well, my question is kind of multifaceted, but talking about a city hall is property, would you not say?
No. We're talking about land acquisition. I think that the intent of that is not to discuss proposed or thought about land purchases so that prices didn't get skewed and things like that. If we're going to talk about a city hall, that's at the media and everywhere right now is the bond is being out there for the voters to vote on.
So you see a distinction between acquisition of property and building something on a property?
I don't understand.
Well, there's a demarcation there. You don't see that talking about the city hall that was in executive session being a executive session matter because it doesn't pertain to property. Is that true?
There was no talk or purchase of property, correct. There was no monetary talk or location other than what was already out in public.
And let me go on to the second thing, is that you know that I work at Lockheed Martin, and we have ethics there that really pretty much tailors along with what we do here in the city. Whenever we hear something in the public that may be true, but we know is confidential or secret or top secret, we're not allowed to comment on it as Lockheed Martin employees. And so I just would ask you to consider that maybe the same type of ethics exist here at Haltom City, that even though something may be in the public, it's not ethical to comment about that. If it's been discussed in executive session, would you respond to that?
Yes. Prior to that executive session and that city council meeting from that dais, the $25 million bond for a new city hall was discussed in public on Vimeo, live stream. It wasn't a secret.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So for that charge, oh, you have a question, Mr.
Yes,
Williams?
Mr.
Yes, Mr. Roberts, going through all these papers and everything and the accusations, did you reply to anything within the council? And you was told not to reply all. Did you reply all?
Yes.
Thank you.
But Ms. Lanester, that's not one I'm being charged with here unless we can find that in this ethics document. What can I be, what are the limits of my charges? We've got number 3, which I did not do. And you've got number 12, which is engaged in dishonest or criminal act or any other conduct prejudicial to the government of the city or that reflects discredit upon the government of the city. Now, I may have posted some things or said some things that some people don't like, but none of it is dishonest. None of it is criminal. And prejudicial is very subjective as to what somebody thinks.
Mr. Roberts, you acknowledge that you received all the training of the Open Meetings Act, correct?
I acknowledge that I received all of the training of the Open Meetings Act, and somebody spent a lot of time getting all those papers and examples together for you. That training was sufficient, no question about that. That does not seem to be one of the things in our charter in this chapter, in this Article 5, that I'm being charged with, though.
Mr. Roberts, in that training, was it clear to you that replying all to council members was breaking Open Meetings Act because it presents a quorum?
I do acknowledge I replied all, sometimes on accident, 2 times on purpose. I acknowledge that. I'm not denying that at all. There was no intent. If you look at the emails, when we talk about ethics violations and ethics charges and things like that, that usually is accompanied with some sort of a selfish, self-serving motivation, where somebody is trying to get something for themselves or for a family member or something like that. That's what this charter was written for, is to stop that from happening. Any of the emails that I responded to council, I could go from council member and send an email, and council member and send an email, and that would be totally legal. Okay? When I sent those emails, I also included staff and I included the attorney all at one time. Nothing in there was self-serving about me. It's just about, hey guys, let's do a little bit better than what we're doing. Give our community more. Example, just like the email you're reading. You're in a position right now as citizens of Haltom City that you're going to vote on a bond coming up. One bond. If it passes, great. If it don't, there's nothing else to fall back on. I was encouraging the city council to put more propositions out there. That was the context of that email. Put more than one thing out. That's not self-serving. That's not selfish. That's not trying to get anything for me. That's trying to encourage the rest of the council to do something for the rest of the citizens.
Well, Mr. Roberts, if you know the rules, you should have followed the rules and done it council member by council member, in my opinion. Because you knew the rules and you acknowledge that you know the rules, but you're also acknowledging that you broke the rules.
Yes, ma'am. And here's idealistic and here's realistic. Idealistic, everything works exactly the way it's written on paper. That's the way our world would be. Realistic, we had access to video. Go back to the April 26th meeting, and you'll find that we had a citizen who was voted in as planning and zoning, got in by 4-3 vote. Next meeting, May 7th, you're going to see 3 elected officials.
Mr. Roberts, that has nothing to do with this.
It has a lot to do with ethics, and that's what I want this whole commission to see. We do need ethics, and I don't mind if you want to target me for it or not, but you need to look at this whole way, the whole thing, way this thing runs. It is improper of me to email all. It is also improper of council members to create a walking quorum where they talk amongst themselves individually or 2 or 3 at a time. And yet if you watch that meeting and see how that citizen got taken off of the planning and zoning board by people who didn't even know how to do that, that's obvious that's what happened.
We're not here to discuss
I
that.
understand, but I'm here to bring that to light.
Well, but this is not the place to do that.
This is my hearing, I'm bringing it.
No, we're subject to the Texas Open Meetings Act, so the only thing that we're allowed to discuss is what's specifically in the complaint that's for the commission today. And as a point of clarification, if you were to send out individual emails to different council members to the point where you reach the quorum of 4, that is actually a crime that you can actually do jail time for. So don't do that.
If you
Just
create a walking
clarification.
quorum, right?
That's correct.
Correct. Okay, but I could send that same email to all people, and that would not be a walking quorum.
To all the council members?
Yes.
Yes, that would be a walking quorum because you're engaging in serious communications with less than a quorum. I'm trying to remember the definition. With less than a quorum of the council, but if you add them all together, then it equals a quorum of the council.
Yes.
So that would be a walking quorum, and that's both a fine and jail time for that.
Okay.
Could be. Just want to make sure that's clear. That's not what we're here to talk about today, but just as a point of
Okay,
clarification.
we need to know that.
Okay.
Okay, so, back to that. What does that fall under in our charter that I'm being charged with? I understand that it is inappropriate.
Well, under the charter, the Open Meetings Act, it looks to be a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act, is what it appears to me. And in regards to other situations that you may be aware of, that's what this body is dedicated to do, is if there's a situation that this body needs to know about, then a complaint should be filed. But we're here to discuss this charge, this sworn complaint, to see was the law broken. The Open Meetings Act is one of the things that we're reviewing right here with this commission.
Doesn't that have to be within the realm of the responsibility of the commission? The city council shall utilize the ethics commission to investigate any allegation that any city council member, board and commission member, or city council appointed officer has violated any provision of this article.
That's what we're here
This is
for.
the article, right?
Right.
And number 5 and number 12 is what's in this article I've been charged with, and neither one of those talks about the Texas Ethics Commission or the Texas PML stuff.
Texas Open Meeting Act.
Yes.
Anybody else have a question?
Correct me if I'm wrong. You understand what the Texas Open Meeting Act says and why it was written, correct?
I've got my interpretation. I don't know if there's conflict with yours or not, but yes.
Okay, you've got your interpretation of it. Okay. And by sending out emails and doing it and including all, you understand that was a violation?
I do understand that that is a violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act. That is not covered in our charter that I'm being charged with here in this article. Not by the Ethics Commission.
And I'm not clear what you're meaning.
Yeah.
If you look at your job as a commissioner, it's listed out the things that I can be charged with, standards of conduct under this article, including I can't accept gifts, that's not an issue. I can't give favors, that's not an issue. I have not disclosed confidential information. I have not used my position of employment or facilities. I haven't used my position for using city offices or employee or vehicles, anything like that. I have not engaged in purchase or sale of real estate. None of the things that's in our charter, that's in this article, has anything to do with the Open Meetings Act. It's y'all's job, according to this. that y'all are judging me on?
When you made the social media post stating what occurred in an executive session, that is violating confidential information, in my opinion.
Okay, and that is what y'all get to do is decide, hey, and then all I'm going to ask you to do is to tell everybody here, what did I expose in that post that was confidential?
Mr. Roberts, it doesn't matter if it had been discussed 50 times out here. It was an executive session that is closed and not privileged to the public, and you posted it on social media.
Okay, so executive session again, the three things that you can talk about in there, it's not included in that post at all.
Anything in executive session cannot be shared.
Okay. Mr. Sutton, have we ever met?
I don't believe so, no.
I don't believe so either. And sitting on the ethics committee, you know Larry Carpenter?
I do know Larry Carpenter.
And you pulled your endorsement from him as precinct chair simply because he and I...
Mr. Roberts, you're out of
This is
order.
irrelevant. This is gotten outside of what's in the complaint. That's
So
what we're
what's
talking
with
about.
ethics?
You're out of order.
But the ethics is in regard to you right now. And also, we're getting a little bit of feel because if you follow the Robert's Rules of Order, which we're doing loosely, we're not going to follow it all the way through. This is just question and answer session. Any opinions need to wait till after there's a motion on the table, and that's for the next agenda item.
Okay.
So
Right.
at this point, if you want to ask if there's any other questions specifically about what's in the complaint, whether it's the complaint itself stating the facts by Councilman Roberts or by any of the commission members, we can do that. And if nothing else, then we'll close the hearing and then move forward with the deliberation. If there's a motion.
Mr. Lemaster has a question.
I'm not trying to run roughshod on you, but I'll ask you again. You're elected to a body of leaders, and if they send you something, is that not confidential information when they tell you do not reply all?
Do not reply all doesn't mean it's confidential. It means they're not supposed to comment on it for fear of creating a quorum.
There you go. But you did.
Multiple times.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
I think I do.
Okay, April Vaughn.
Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, so you admit that you violated the Open Meetings Act by replying all to the emails.
Yes.
Okay, at the time you replied all, did you know you were violating the Open Meetings Act? You did that knowingly and intentionally.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Roberts?
I do. The last thing that I would say is simply this. Look at the emails that were sent. I voted the Open Meetings Act transparent. I didn't go around from person to person to person to get some other agenda done at a meeting, like some people do, because that is so hard to prove. I don't mind being transparent. I don't mind being honest about anything that's been done. So when you're making your decisions and when you hand down, the verdict to the council, look at the content of the email as well. Look at the intent as well as what was done, because intent matters when you're trying to accuse somebody of something. There's always an intent, and the intentions are never to harm the city or to harm the citizens or any person, only to try to lift up this whole city. So read all that stuff and make your decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:15.
Are you going to open up?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go to the next item, is the recommendation to the city council. Okay, can I entertain a motion?
Before we do that, because he brought up an excellent point about intention and knowing, so let me read what our code of ordinances says regarding what's next step of the hearing. So this is in section 25458 Ethics Commission Procedure E7 in a hearing. So this is the opportunity to make a recommendation if you believe one should be made, that the accused has violated the code of ethics, and it does require a supermajority vote in this case. So that would be 4. So you'd have to have 4 out of the 5 to get the vote. The recommendation to the city council, following whatever the commission's determination, the Ethics Commission chairperson will present this to the city council. So this is just a recommendation to the city council, just to make sure that's clear. And in section 2, 453C, it says whenever the Ethics Commission finds that a city council member has violated, I'm not saying you have to find that, this is what happens if you do find, it shall make the recommendation of one or more appropriate penalties to the city council as follows. 1, a letter of notification shall be issued when the violation is clearly minor and unintentional. A letter of notification shall inform the party complained against of appropriate actions that should be taken to avoid future violations. 2, a letter of admonition shall be issued when the violation is minor and may or not have been unintentional, but calls for more substantial response than a letter of notification. The letter of admonition shall inform the party complained against of appropriate actions that should be taken to avoid future violations. 3, public admonishment from the dais. Remember, this is not from here, this is from the council. In addition to a letter of admonition shall be issued when the violation has been committed either intentionally or through disregard of the ethics code or an advisory opinion issued by the city attorney, which is not in play in this case. We don't have an advisory opinion in place. The culpable mental states, as Councilman Roberts pointed out, is knowingly. A person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to the nature of the person's conduct or to circumstances surrounding the person's conduct when the person is aware of the nature of the conduct or that the circumstances exist. A person acts knowingly or with knowledge with respect to a result of the person's conduct when the person is aware that the conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. Intentionally, a person intentionally or with intent or acts with intent with respect to the nature of his conduct or to a result of his conduct when it is his conscious objective and desire to engage in the conduct or cause the result. So that is what is at play before the commission.
Mr. Lamont.
Motion in order.
Sir?
Because Mr. Roberts has admitted, I think item number 3 would be standing to a letter of administration and also public hearing before the council.
Public admonishment.
Public admonishment, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you state that in your motion? State that in your just state what I just said, though. The words, sir.
I move that.
I move that.
Pardon me?
Please state, I move that.
Okay, I move that we go with item number 3 with the public admonishment and the letter of admonishment.
Do I have your second?
I'll second that.
Just for a point of clarification, you said that he admitted, but you didn't say admitted as to what. So what, in your motion, what are you saying that he admitted to?
Well, he admitted to violating the open meetings.
Could I make an amended motion that I would second the motion that we recommend that we provide public admonishment for violating Section 2458 of the Haltom City Code of Ordinances regarding the 551.01 Open Meetings Act.
You agree with that?
Well, I'm fine with that.
Go ahead,
We-
Mr. Master.
We need a second before.
Oh, he seconded.
Okay.
On
Well,
No, discussion. Yeah.
deliberation, sorry. Any deliberation about this?
No.
So now we vote for the amendment first, and if that passes, then we vote for the motion.
Okay. All in favor of the voting for the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we vote for the original motion for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your right hand. Motion passes. Close this meeting, please. Close the meeting.
Yeah, we have a motion.
We have a motion to motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved?
I'm agreeing.
So moved.
7:20. Lisa made it.
Lisa and I seconded.
No problem.
Good words.
It was good.
It was.
Can we talk about this right here?
No. Oh, I,